Going through the APAC plans was hella fun, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys. So welcome back to Check Your Corners with me, Sleepy. Let's get into today's video. There are two parts to this video. First, of course, we'll be talking about the play-ins results because that was a lot of fun. And of course, later on, we'll be talking about the group stage preview for tomorrow. And I will give you the anticipated and expected predictions that you guys are waiting for. Now, before we start, I want to ask something of you guys. I hope you guys have been enjoying these videos, and I just wanted to remind you that you can subscribe, because I've seen the stats. I think over 80% of our watchers or viewers are not subscribed, and if you do subscribe, that would help this channel very much. So yeah, that's just a quick little reminder. So now let's get into the video. I have to start with Global Esports. Two parts to their loss. One is against Griffin Esports. Going into that match, I was hoping for some good stuff coming out of Global Esports. They've had extensive experience, both internationally and locally, with last year's LCQ and some of the local tournaments they played in. I was hoping that Global Esports would have fixed some of the fundamental problems that they showed us during LCQ. And right away, in that match against Griffin, I noticed some of those fundamentals are still missing. Some of which include over-aggression and overheating by SK Rossi, getting a pick-off and then continuously peeking or re-peeking unnecessarily. And also some rounds where I thought, oh, this is very winnable. They've got the man advantage. There's no way they lose this. Yet they do. And so these are some things that I was hoping to not see from Global Esports. And sure, I guess they needed to get some time, to get used to, I guess, the Singapore air, or, just recover from their tiredness and jet lag, having to relocate from India all the way to Singapore. So maybe we can see them fix that in the next matchup against Fancy United, but that didn't happen either. On that second matchup, well, again, Global Esports just didn't really fix their mistakes. And even on Ascent, I saw that the first 3 rounds they played, where they lost some horrendous post plans, they were looking kind of desperate. And I didn't think that that was the form that Global Esports were bringing over from India to Singapore. But yeah, that happened. And towards the end of that map, I guess Fancy United, with the lead that they've gotten, they were kind of hasty to close the map. And Global Esports kind of found a momentum to maybe try and come back again to the map. And I was hoping that, yeah, this is their time to shine. But in the end, Fancy United decided to close it out and eliminated Global Esports from the APAC plans. And with that matchup, I have a few conclusions. One, they are still missing fundamentals. They are not playing to their man advantage. They are not really disciplined in terms of, their dry peeking into angles and also this overheating moments with SK Rossi. And there's one final thing that I think was kind of curious, funny, and odd at the same time, and that is this unhealthy obsession with the operator for SK Rossi. And that might be saying that SK Rossi is using the operator as sort of a crutch that he needs to use for him to be effective. And maybe that is something that Global Esports can try and work out and see if they can use and utilize SK Rossi as a rifling duelist that can help his team entry into a site instead of having to hold angles. Well, the thing is, he did enter sites and open up ways for his team with the operator, but it's just not the most reliable way for a duelist to entry. So that's just my 2 cents, and maybe we'll see more of them soon in the local tournaments. Otherwise, we'll see them again in Stage 2, and I wish Global Esports the best of luck. Second team I want to talk about is Action PH. Now, of course, I predicted them as well to get into the group stage, but they did not. And again, 2 parts. First part was, of course, the loss to Onyx Esports, where they didn't really play bad because all of the members from that team showed up big time. Ryu, of course, with his clutches, insane rounds by him. And I did highlight him last week saying that he is a clutch master, and he showed up. Georgie also showed us why he is Philippines' most watched and most viewed and most deadly jet player. And it was a pleasure watching him just dismantle Onyx Esports with his crazy plays. And the rest of the members also showed up big time. Zero Deathio showed us some good clutches. M1 showed us some crispy headshot machine aim, and a Batman as a last-minute stand-in to Modeski did not disappoint. So their loss to Onyx was just purely because Onyx played as a better team. Shout out to Coach Ewok. And of course, the second part is the loss to Full Sense. And this is where I was kind of disappointed because against Onyx, they were looking so good. But when it comes to Full Sense, they just didn't show up. Now, I don't know the real cause to it, but maybe it was also because one of the unlucky things that happened was that Action PH, minutes before they had to play against Onyx, they had to move to another boot camp because of a electricity cut. And that was really unlucky because, believe me, I know what that felt like, and it was a lot of pressure, but they still played great. And I guess against Full Sense, it was either they got tired or Full Sense just decided to stop playing around and just played as the LCQ winner that they were last year. And in the end, Action PH just crumbled to a devastating loss against Full Sense. And I really hope to see more of Action PH later in Stage 2 and in the local tournaments back in the Philippines. So good luck, have fun to Action PH. Now, enough about losers. Let's talk about the winners of the APAC play-ins. We have Onyx Esports, No Namers, Full Sands, and Fancy United. Now, let's talk about each of them. Starting with Onyx Esports. Now, there are a few reasons why Onyx won. Reason number one is... And how come I'm not supporting Onyx? Well, part of it is I want to try and be as objective as I can here, but also maybe I just want to try and not jinx my fellow countrymen by saying that they'll make it. So this is the true test of my superpowers. Let's see if my jinx is on. But seriously, jokes aside, I think Onyx just played great as a team. They had great adaptation, great team play, but there was nothing really fancy or flashy coming out of Onyx. They just played good as a team, and each member of the team just played their roles perfectly, and that contributed to taking that one slot to the group stage. So congrats to Onyx Esports. Now let's talk about No Namers. Now I love this team because they brought Uncle Brim into Haven. So I guess there's this creativity they brought with them, and of course the two players we highlighted last week, Vera and Thames, they just popped off, especially against Fancy United. There were a few rounds that I thought, oh my god, they can do that, and they did. And of course that secured them the slot to the group stage, and this continued all the way until they were playing against Griffin, and they just made it. So congrats to No Namers. Full Sense, I mean, there's not that much we can talk about this team. But yeah, they just made it. They showed up. They decided they were done playing, and they secured a slot after beating APH in a crazy series, especially for this monster named John Olsen, because he dropped 29 kills in a 15-round game. Now, if we want to make our lives easier, 29 rounded up to 30, because it's only 1 kill difference. And with that, it comes down to getting 2 kills per round for this man. And you know what? I have a suggestion for John Olsen. If you want to listen to this, John Olsen, I'll take credit. Change your name to John Olsen 2K, because that represents the number of kills you get per round versus APH. And with that name, you can... I guess be regarded as one of the great players like Stevie 2K, and I guess that makes it really fun for you. So, hey, thank me later.
What's up, bitch?
And finally, Fancy United. Honestly, Fancy United became one of my favorite teams to watch because of their creativity. It defines them, you know. There was this no duelist composition on Icebox versus GE. They made it work. And then, you know, they also love this double controller setup on all maps. But I guess there is kind of a alluded reason why they wanted to play two controllers, because Omen, I don't think they see Omen as a controller anymore at this point. They play him as a duelist because of how Acerola was so aggressive with his utilities, and the way he played it just made it so easy for his teammates to just enter a site, because before they even threw a recon, before they even entered, before the jet even dashed in, Acerola was already inside his own smoke on site, and I guess this showed that there was this bravery that came from the team to experiment with different compositions, even in a high-stakes game like this APAC Play-ins. And so I am really, really looking forward to more. And I did say last week that I wanted to talk more about these teams like from Vietnam. And I'm really glad that Fancy United gave us a reason to do just that. So I really am looking forward to more in the group stages. So there you have it. Those are the 4 teams that made it to the group stage. And once again, congratulations and good luck, have fun in the group stage. And now, into the group stage we go. First of all, of course, you have to know the teams that made it into the group stage. You'll see it on your screen now. Group A, we have Boom Esports, No Namers, Made in Thailand, and Cerberus Esports. Group B, we have PaperX, Fancy United, Bonkers, Persija Esports, Zerja Esports, Onyx G, Naus Esports, and Bleed Esports are all in Group C. And finally, Group D, we have Southbuild Esports, Full Sense, Velocity Gaming, and Oblivion Force. This video is getting much longer than I thought it would be, so I'm going to be like highlighting a few things and probably not get into too much detail. Let's get into detail once we see them play and have results to talk about. But let's try and highlight a few players. Boom Esports, you have to look at Berserks, one of the best duelists in Indonesia, if not the best. Great ACS, a lot of first kills, and this is a great stat for you to look at. He's got a first kill per round rating number of 0.25. That means in 4 duels, he will win 1 as an opening duel, and that will help Boom Esports a lot in terms of getting control. And another player from Boom Esports, I would take a look at Tebo Tol. He's a very, very smart player. I've coached him before, and I knew that he is one of the few players who knew really well how to play timings and play his utilities as a controller and as a lurker. So that is also one of the players I want you guys to look at. Next, we have Made in Thailand. There's not that much I can talk about Made in Thailand because I think they're kind of new, and also I haven't really played against them before, and I haven't really watched them play before. But I guess we can highlight Kadum as their duelist, and Delin as a controller also have a lot of clutches, 14 out of 51. That comes down to a little more than, I think, 25% if my quick maths are right. So that's also pretty interesting. Cerberus Esports, I mean, they've been a contender in the Vietnamese scene, and I'm glad to see them now in the group stage. Red Neville, previously in Big Bam, he's really, really strong as a duelist with a very good ACS rating at 267. And Daikute as a duelist as well with a lot of kills. 375 kills makes him the second highest kill record holder, and I am looking forward to see this 2 duelists play in tandem. And finally, of course, No Namers, we talked about them, creative, good fundamentals, and I am excited to see them finally compete in the group stage against all these big dogs from these other countries. So that is Group A. Getting into Group B, PaperX is no stranger. You know Forsaken. Who the hell doesn't know Forsaken? He's a duelist, obviously, but he also plays some fun agents like Astra. I don't know about now because Astra is nerfed, so maybe Mind Freak will be that player who PaperX will assign to Astra because she's just not a very good agent now. But I'm guessing Mind Freak will be assigned Omen now. That is really good. But yeah, Forsaken is a highlight. Jing, obviously, the latest addition to PaperX, is also one hell of a prodigy with the duelist he plays. And so these two players are really, really fun to watch. Bonkers, the newcomer to the scene from Oceania region, from Australia to be specific. We got RDW with a Sentinel and Duelist Flex with a very high ACS rating. That's going to be fun. And of course, Scrawl as an initiator also got a lot of clutches under his belt. So Bonkers, they've got something to prove here in Group B. I can't wait to see them play so we can talk more about them. Or maybe I just want a reason to talk shit to Minimize. Because that guy, he's got some balls. But let's see if we can walk the talk. Boy with Love, previously known, now they are Persija Esports. It was a whole news on its own. It was such a great, progress in the Indonesian esports scene, because now a football club, like a legit football club in Indonesia, is in esports, and they acquired BWL, Boy with Love. And players to highlight, Famous. He is regarded as a god here in Indonesia. It's insane how good he is, provided that he rarely practice. And so it's really unfair that there are this kinds of players, you know. They don't really practice, they rarely really try, but they're just good. And it's crazy. I also want to highlight Flinch. I always tell the people here in Indonesia that Flinch was one of the most improved players in Indonesia in the whole of 2021, and he is insanely good with the Jet, and I really hope you guys can see that. And Asterisk as a flex also got a lot of clutches. Man, I love how there are so many clutch players here in the APAC playoffs, and I can't wait to see them play. And of course, Fancy United also in Group B. We've talked about them. A lot of creativity, a lot of bravery with their unique compositions. I want to see them play out against these more experienced teams like Paper X. So good luck to Group B. Zerja Esports in Group C, you know them well. They were previously known as X10. All the players transferred, but we do have a new name there, Surf, as a duelist. I think will make an impact, but he has got big shoes to fill because Pathipan left us for Overwatch, which is sad. But hey, if Surf can fill that shoe, I would be glad to commend him if he does. Fox Z as an initiator, previously in Sentinel. He's a very good player because he is, if I recall correctly, the IGL for Zerja, and he is also a clutch master. So there's that. Now's Esports, we have KVZX as a Sova main, really interesting guy to watch. And Kakarot has been around for quite a long time and is very flexible with his agents, a lot of agents under his belt. And I believe I see Neon somewhere in there. So we'll see if that's going to come out in the playoffs. Bleed Esports, this is a fun team to watch out for because there are two Swedish players joining them finally after their visa have been sorted out, based on Blitz, Pyth, or Pith, or you can clarify how you pronounce your name, Pith. I'm going to go with Pith. He's a chamber main, so we might see him play that agent later in the playoffs. Maxi is unknown, though, so maybe there's like some effort to conceal what they've been working with Maxi. So we'll just have to see how Bleed Esports gel these Singaporeans with Swedish players and make this, super team in a super rich organization. Bleed Esports, come on, man. I know you've got a lot of 3090s. Just send one over to me, okay? Thank you. And finally, Onyx G, we talked about them. A lot of players to highlight there. I want to highlight Monyet, of course, again. One of the craziest duelists here in Indonesia. Shiro as a clutcher. Elmi Moore as my ex-student or ex-kid. They're going to be really, really, really fun to watch. So Group C is hell. Now, I just want to say that Group C is probably one of the most avoided groups here in the APAC Playoffs group stage. And Onyx G, they've been wishing and wishing and wishing to be placed in Group D. But I guess jinxing Onyx into Group C is a price I have to pay because the jinx made them come into the group stage, but I didn't really say where they're going to be placed. And I guess the gods give us Group C for Onyx G. So good luck, have fun to Onyx G. And also all the teams in Group C. And lastly, Group D, Southbuild Esports champions of VCT PH. They have been improving so much. Papi Chulo as a Sentinel is also a clutch master, so that's one player to look out. Aziz have been catching my... Dude, this guy caught my eye. He's a great duelist, and he's been so effective with high first kill numbers, with 0.21 first kills per round, and that means every 5 opening duels, he'll win 1. And with the help of Black and Blue from Philippines, Southbuild Esports have been building these fundamentals, and they've been really, really strong. So I'm very impressed by the progress they've made since the last year. Velocity Gaming, last hope of South Asia now, since Global Esports have been eliminated altogether. Deathmaker is a duelist you'll have to watch out for. Very aggressive player. Right to Ace is an experienced veteran playing initiators and is also a clutch master. Now, the numbers might be low because he's clutched out of 31 clutch situations, he's won 10. And statistically, that's high, but of course, sample size is kind of small. But my point is, he's a clutch master himself, so we're going to have to watch out for this guy. Oblivion Force, not much for me. Like I said, I haven't really seen them play. So, No Man, that's the duelist in the team. So, of course, duelists will attract the most attention, because they are usually the ones with the most kills. This is one player I'll watch out for. Furious Meow is a controller and a sentinel, a pretty flexible player, and I can't wait to see what agents they're going to bring into the table now. Onto the table, I should say. And Full Sense, of course. John Olsen, PTC, Lammy Snacks. These 3 players, for me, are the highlights since watching them play in the play-ins. And that's it for Group D, and that's all for the groups. So I hope you guys have gotten some pointers for you guys to, I guess, look out for later when we watch them play starting tomorrow, Wednesday. And now let's get into our predictions. Honestly, I've got my pick'ems right here. Boom Esports will win the first matchup against No Namers. Cerberus will win against Made in Thailand. Boom Esports will win against Cerberus to qualify first into the playoffs and knockout stage. In the lower bracket, elimination, No Namers versus Made in Thailand. No Namers will make it through to the decider, and No Namers will be the qualified team, having beaten Cerberus Esports. Over at Group B, we have PaperX, favorites to win Group B. They will be the first seed, winning over Fancy United and later versus Persija, because Persija is who I've picked to win against Bonkers. And over at elimination, Bonkers will beat Fancy United and will beat as well Persija Esports to win all the way to the knockout stage. Group C, Serja Esports again as a playoffs contender last year in the Champions Berlin 2021 will win all the way and make it to playoffs and knockout stage. And now Esports will also win against Bleed Esports, will lose to Serja, go down to the decider match against Onyx, who've won against Bleed Esports, and Onyx G will beat out Now's Esports to make it through to the knockouts. Lastly, Group D, we have Full Sense making it all the way to the knockout stage. Velocity Gaming will also be winning against Oblivion Force, and unfortunately they will be dropping down to the decider match against Southbuild Esports, who sent home Oblivion Force, and Velocity Gaming, as the last hope of South Asia, will make it through to the knockouts and will have another go to bring that flag from all the way from South Asia. And that is your predictions. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around all the way to this 20-plus minutes of a video. I don't know how many guys survived. And I hope you guys found some things you can talk about down in the comments. So please do that. Comment anything you have in mind. And while you're down there, please drop this video a like and hit that subscribe button. And yeah, just make sure that the 80+% of you who's not subscribed will now be subscribed and are turning on notifications so you get notified on any new future videos. I do want to remind you guys that I am going to be hosting watch parties for almost all the matches in the group stage and later in the knockouts. The channel will be on Sleepy Studios TV down in the description. I will be linking that very channel. So please do come if you want to be watching the games with me, where I'll be usually, giving some analysis and just giving my thoughts on how the rounds play out and what's happening on the games. So do that. But, of course, I'm really excited for the group stage, guys. I hope you guys are too. I will be talking about them more later when we see the results, and that will have to wait until next week. So until then, take care, and don't forget, check your corners.